Okay then, so this is another tutorial. Now you should have a link to this website, videvo.net. Essentially what it is a opportunity to peruse some free Shutterstock items. That's essentially all it does, and so it quickly links you to Shutterstock. So it's got some interesting free items that you can use here, and a lot of these are related to green screen things. Okay, so essentially what we're going to be doing is we're going to be using this as part of the activity. Okay, I want you to find, a lot of these are really good and really crisp and green and everything like that. That's going to be important, but I want you to find one in particular. So we're looking for a candle burning. Oh, there it is. Oh, wait. Could not find that. Okay, so find the candle, click on it, and click free download. Now there's a reason why we wanted to pick the candle, and it's mainly because there are some imperfections here. It's not exactly the best green screen, okay? And even though you've had some time to look at how to create perfect green screen, I'm not necessarily assuming that you have been able to. So we need to think about ways in which we can improve what we have. Okay, so we've got at this point in time, this. And we've easily been able to download it as well. It lives in your downloads now that you've clicked free downloads. Okay, so I want you to open up After Effects, and then I want you to drag in this download, if it allows me to. There we go. Just find a way to get it onto the screen there. Okay. Now, if we were to go to the project area, you'd be able to do it there. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete it from here. I'm going to drag this to this option here that allows me to create a composition based on the clip. Okay. Now, essentially, what we need to be able to do is take the green color away from everything else. Okay, that's the idea. So one thing that we want to do is click on the transparency grid. Okay, I'll remind you to do that later, just in case you haven't done that, because it is going to be useful. In the meantime, let's go and find the effect that we want. Okay, I want you to search in your effects files for key light. It'll be in keying, and keying essentially is the process of taking away the green from a green screen. Okay, it's color keying. Okay, so we're going to add that to the file. Now, this effect we can actually see here, and it might be useful to just actually work here. Screen color, that's the first thing you need to change. Click on that and change it. Now you can see what is transparent. Okay. Now you won't necessarily be able to see this directly at this point in time, but there is some inconsistencies, okay? So we'll be able to go into that into detail, but let's just play it back and we'll be able to see some issues that we're having. You'll be able to see that there's quite a lot of noise, and that is an issue. Oh, it's out of memory, that's no good. But yeah, so if we're just playing in this area, that's the issue. You can see that there is definitely around here some issues, okay? So what I want you to do is I want you to essentially go through these areas and essentially play with some. So one thing that we can do is increase the gain, and that itself has actually cleaned it up somewhat as well. Okay, so there's less issues going on. So if we were to go back on ourselves, so it was at 100 then, you can see quite a lot of messy shadows and stuff like that. Increase the gain of your file. It's going to look a bit better. It's not going to look perfect, but it's going to look better. Okay. Now there are lots and lots of different things that you can do to clean up your green screens and things like that. But I'm not necessarily going to go into them. Okay. One thing that you can do though, to ensure that the what's the word, the image or something like that is having to deal with less issues, is to add a layer mask, okay? So if you create a shape tool or use the pen tool or anything like that, you'll be able to create a layer mask. But you need to make sure that the layer that you want the mask to be applied to is selected. So if I was to click that layer and then add a square to it, I would be able to add a layer mask, okay? Now the layer mask has certain things that you can play around with. So it might be useful for you to play around with the feathering for something or something like that. We can illustrate what sort of effect this will have if we find that hand again. That hand actually doesn't exist anymore because that mat itself has made it disappear. But there it is, yep. Now, I wouldn't necessarily, if you don't have to use the layer mask, then I wouldn't necessarily recommend using it, but you can use it, okay? You can also animate the mask path as well. So say for example, let's just sort this out, hold down space to move it with the little hand. Let's bring that in like that, okay? I can actually animate it so that I'm only keeping this green screen layer on screen for as little time as possible. So I can click the mask path and then move it along. I need up to the point where that's there. Once he's gone, I can click it again and then quickly animate it. Got to make sure that you're clicking things separately. Animate it so that it does not show the area where the hand was anymore. So I don't need that anymore. Now it's not exactly perfect, but it illustrates what it will do. Now, this is really, really useful as well. This masking tool is really, really useful if you have images, say for example you have a light down here or something like that, and you just have a person in the middle that you want to have on screen. So you can mask out everything else and just have that individual there. That's the basic tools for using green screen. There is a lot of other things that you can do, but it would be great to be able to see you do this at least. Okay, the next thing for you to do is actually to create a little little film using green screen techniques. Okay, so thank you very much.